Good morning and happy Tuesday. This is the Brian Nichols Show on the We Are Libertarians Network. I am your host today for a sales short. My name is Jeremy Todd. Thanks for tuning in. I want to tell you an anecdote, a fun story that I've always enjoyed telling the new salespeople on their very first day when I'm training new salespeople. And it's a story about something we all love. It's a story about chocolate cake and what lessons you can take from chocolate cake. See, the story goes that there was this small town and they were hosting their state fair, whatever it may be. And one of the things at state fairs is, rides and crazy deep fried food, but they also do some contests. And one contest they decided to do this year was a baking contest. And it was going to be in the setup or idea of like a Food Network challenge, a Beat Bobby Flay sort of setup, if you will. And there were two contestants, and they had to bake chocolate cake in 2 hours for a $5,000 prize. Now, these chefs would have the same ingredients and the exact same tools and exact same stations available to them. And in the end, 3 judges would judge their cake and determine a winner. So the timer goes off and the competition begins. Well, there were 2 chefs included in this competition. The first was a multi-decade veteran chef. He'd owned local restaurants and bakeries in town. He was well-known, well-liked. He was what you would call a professional and an expert in his field. The second, the challenger, if you will, was a very young chef who had just graduated culinary school. So the timer goes off, and the veteran chef just starts going to town, cracking eggs, flour, sugar, vanilla, chocolate, stirring his cocoa powder in, all the things to get his cake in the oven. Then he whips together his butter and his chocolate, his powdered sugar. He makes this beautiful chocolate icing. His cakes come out, he cuts them in perfect layers, uses this professional icing technique he'd mastered over the years, and with time left on the clock, walks his cake up to the judge's table. Big, giant, smug look on his face, knowing he's got this in the bag. Well, the young chef could be seen doing quite the opposite. Very shakily measuring his flour into his mixer, nervous, unsteady hands, running behind. At the last second, he whips together something resembling icing, smears it on the top of his cake, runs up quite possibly the ugliest cake you've ever seen to the judges' stand. So the judges proceed, and they cut the pieces of the cake for each of the judges. All the judges taste it, score it, review it, and they come to a unanimous decision on the winner. And it is not what you would expect. The very ugly, very beat up, the cake made by the young chef had won in a landslide victory. Well, if you could imagine, that was something that really, really upset that veteran chef. He was angry. He was dumbfounded. And he lashed out at the judges. How is this possible? There's no way an amateur with an ugly cake like that could beat me. I'm a 5-star chef. The judges must be cheating me. The lead judge responded, Chef, did you taste your cake at any point? The chef snarled and said, well, no, I've made this cake 1,000 times over the years. I know exactly how it tastes. the judges insisted, come on, come up here to the stage, sir. And they cut him a piece of his own cake. The chef, in frustration, takes a bite out of his cake, and you see his entire face flush. In that moment, he realized in the very beginning he had grabbed salt instead of sugar by mistake. What are the lessons that we can take from this story as we go out and try to tackle our day and be the best version of ourselves on Tuesday? Well, the first lesson is that experience does not equal greatness. On any given day, if you take shortcuts, you can fail. Just because you were good once does not mean you are good today. Hold yourself to a standard. See, the veteran chef thought he was too good to measure his ingredients, to take the time to taste it along the way and double check. Expertise can make us complacent sometimes. The second thing is that if you are losing, it's because your cake is bad. The judges don't have it out for you. No one is responsible for your cake except you. It's frustrating to hear that you might possibly be the reason for your failures. But it's actually great news, because it means that you can be the reason for your success. If failure is 100% your responsibility, then success is 100% your opportunity. It doesn't depend on someone else, because nobody else is baking this cake but you. Well, what if you say, well, I don't know how to make a cake? Good. That's okay. This was only the second cake that the young baker had made. All he did was follow the recipe they taught him in culinary school. There are recipes that work, whether it be scripts, training, books. All you have to do is copy what other successful people do. If you follow the recipe on making a great chocolate cake, you're going to end up with a great chocolate cake. If you follow what other successful people do, it will work for you too. And if they're winning and you're losing, ask them if you can borrow their recipe. And this is great news. You know, a lot of times I get asked the question, are people born a salesperson? Or is it a gift to be able to be persuasive and sell? And the answer is absolutely not. No one is born a salesperson any more than somebody is born a surgeon. Persuasion is not natural. I mean, it is. It's something we all do every day. But it is not a skill that just comes naturally. You have to develop it. You have to work at it. And I tend to believe that anyone can win and be successful when it comes to persuasion. No matter what your experience or your expertise, if you simply follow a recipe, then you can win too. So I hope that story gives you a little bit of inspiration. I hope it challenges you that if you found your comfort zone and maybe you're the expert like the first chef, go back and review your recipe. Are you doing all the things that it takes to win? Are you doing the little things right? And if you're the second chef who's struggling, sweaty, uncertain, unsure, you're okay. Just keep following that recipe, and it will work for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've been your host, Jeremy Todd. Signing off for the Brian Nichols Show.